Good evening, everyone. Here's your favourite YouTuber, Harry. And tonight we're going to talk about all things Tottenham, but especially the transfer window, which is opening in 2 days. And tonight I also have a very special show because I have at least 3 guests joining me. Yeah, so we're going to talk for about maybe 2 hours about the game. So here are your guests tonight. So first I've got Tops with me. You're right. Good evening.
Good evening, Harry. Thank you for having me on, brother. You good?
Yeah. Got Josh.
How we
Right,
doing?
Josh? Josh?
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Good evening. Yeah, is everything good?
Yeah, no, all good. Thank you. Buzzing. I think all Spurs fans are probably feeling the same.
Yeah, all with a smile on our face. I've got Marlon back again.
How you doing?
Good, I'm good, man. You?
Yeah.
All right, so we've got a special show tonight. So where shall I begin? All right, so as everyone else as surprised as me at how quickly we've actually done some transfer business. So
massively quick.
Massively. So I'm going to go to you first, Tops. Are you more in shock or more in... has this surprised you? Has this not surprised you? The fact that Perisic and Forster already done, and the transfer hasn't even opened.
Yeah, it is surprising. To be honest with you, being a lifelong Spurs fan, everything that I kind of can remember always ends up being somewhere far way down into the transfer window. So it's actually really positive that we've managed to actually get some business done right at the start. And obviously it looks like we're going to be trying to get business done pretty much as soon as we can and before pre-season. So it's quite refreshing. It's clearly something that maybe Conte and Paratici have pushed. And obviously with the investment that's come in as well, it just gives us onus to try get everything right before the start of the season, or the new season anyway.
Okay, guys, he's done it. Okay.
I'm a genius.
Really?
I'm a genius.
Yes. He made it.
I made it, yeah. Fucking hell. Can't believe it.
You actually made it. Oh my God, yes. Yeah, and this is my 4th guest tonight. Billy, you all right?
I'm fine, thank you.
We got there in the end.
Well, it took a little bit of work. I tried using it on the iPad, but I forgot I bought a new iPad, and I'm going to have to get my mate to sort that one out.
So how are you feeling tonight about transfers?
You're not going to get me to say anything nice about leaving, trust me. I've seen what East London Spurs said.
Yeah.
Look, I'll credit him with putting this money in, but I'll believe it all when I see it. At the moment, I'm feeling positive because I think the Perisic deal is a brilliant deal. Getting the goalkeeper, I think he's Premiership proven. He's a unit, something we haven't had in goal for God knows how long. All our goalies have been small, agile. I love shot stoppers, but sometimes when we're playing cup games, you want someone who can just knock someone out the way, don't you? And if that's what he's going to be used for, the other deal I'd like to be done early is Ericsson, if we can get him, because then you've got your 3 transfers out the way. Then you could I'd get the Bastoni deal done as quick as possible. Then you know what money you've got to spend on other areas.
Okay, we're going to talk about it in a bit. So I'm going to go to Josh next. Okay, so how are you feeling about Perisic and Forster? Because we've already got those deals done.
Yeah, I mean, just incredible business. I think that a lot of us probably weren't expecting Forster because it looked like Sam Johnston was the goalkeeper that was going to come in. But actually, I think that we've got a massive upgrade on Sam Johnston. That's no disrespect to him, but Forster has played in the Champions League. He's played in the Premier League consistently. He's been in England squads. He's massive, a man mountain. And I actually think in snapping him up on a free, that's a really shrewd bit of business, because if Lloris was to get injured, you've got a keeper that can play in the Champions League and play in the Premier League, and you don't feel like your team is severely weakened by that. So I'm a big fan of Forster. And then Perisic, I mean, what can I say? I don't think you can find a better player in the world in that left wing back position. There just isn't. 2-footed, got an eye for goal, great at beating a man, great at getting a ball in. He runs at players, something I think Spurs have lacked this season, although it's been amazing.
Yeah.
We've actually lacked players that really get at defenders and give them a hard time, and he can do it on both feet. So tremendous bit of business, 2 free transfers, players with experience. And I think, similar to what Billy said, I think more than the Ericsson deal, the Bastoni deal is more important, I think, to get done first, because I think if you get that Bastoni deal done, that's your left-sided centre-back, not just for next season, but for the next 5 seasons, you'd think. And that really shows the intent of the club. If you're going to go out and just spend the money straight away, no mucking about, then I think, if fans of other clubs aren't scared of us next season, they bloody well should be.
But so do you think, because you said that you preferred Forster to Johnston, I was of the other opinion. I preferred Johnston to Forster. But I know someone's going to laugh about that. But are you saying it because Forster's more experienced?
It's his experience, it's his size, it's the way that he commands his area. And, you look at some of the key moments he's had this season, right? Southampton have been pretty shambolic at times. Yes, they've got a few good players. So I wouldn't worry too much about the fact that he's conceded quite a few goals this season. But actually, I think about the Arsenal game, he was absolutely phenomenal. And he has games like that. And he doesn't just have one game a season like that. I can think of 3 or 4 games a season. He was a nightmare against us as well. We couldn't beat him very easily either. And, it's just something completely different. I think Galini was arguably...
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you're looking at sort of Vlad Chiriquez and Benjamin Stambouli as comparable sort of awful signings.
I mean, Galini was just...
Before Galini, had Vaughan.
Well, I didn't mind Vaughan that much. I thought he was quite good. But, I mean, Galini was apparently liked in the dressing room, but that's not enough. Forster, he is ready. And, a goalkeeper in their 30s, in their early 30s, is not so much a problem because they're not having to do the running that, an outfield player can do. So I don't mind if we had a goalkeeper that was 35. Remember, we had Brad Friedel playing a goal in his 40s. Yeah. It was brilliant.
Brad Friedel was actually one of our better goalkeepers over the years.
I love Friedel. I thought he was brilliant.
I mean, he didn't come off the line too much, but he was actually a good goalkeeper.
I just think with Sam Johnston's a great goalkeeper. He'll join a Premier League team. But I think he's been in the Championship this season. He needs to have a really top season at a Premier League club before the big clubs can seriously start looking at him. And that's no disrespect to him. I think he is a great goalkeeper. But there are other English goalkeepers that I would put ahead of him, in a race for an England place. And I just think Forster gives me that little bit more confidence.
Remember a few years back when Chelsea bought Rob Green? No one really
I remember.
Why.
Yeah.
It was just to create the English quota, but Forster's a better version of that Rob Green. He was finished. He was absolutely finished as a player.
Forster's had a revival as well. He was amazing at Celtic, and he was brilliant when he first, came into the Premier League, first joined Southampton. He was great, and then he had a bit of bad form and he lost his place, and McCarthy was playing. I think he got an injury as well, but I think this is as good a season I've ever seen him have.
I must confess I haven't seen that much of Southampton, so I can't really say. Okay, so I'm going to go to Marlon now. I mean, me and you, we bicker a lot about a certain person at Tottenham. Okay. Now, are you surprised by how quickly we've done this, or are you not? Because I'm just going to bring something up, and then I'll let you speak for a second. Sorry. For me, the biggest indicators that something may have changed, I'm not going to say it has, was the fact Levy didn't attend this meeting in Italy, and the fact that, I mean, we've done business so early. So do you think things have changed, or is this just like a little change and we're going to go back to how we normally are later in the window?
This is the thing. Until I see both players holding up the shirt, I'm going to say one thing. I'm not convinced they've signed yet. I'm one of those. Until I've seen them physically being announced. I know because the transfer window open for a couple of days, but I want them holding up the shirt first before I start believing.
Yeah.
However, the Forster deal is an incredible deal. I was shocked because I thought it was Johnson as well, but Forster is a very, very good goalkeeper. And if you look at Southampton, before he got dropped, that was they never were fighting relegation. As soon as they dropped him, every year they were fighting relegation until this year. And again, he got his first team place back. And not once did we think Southampton were ever going down. Yeah, they had some bad results here and there. And let's be honest, he didn't let in 9 goals at all. He weren't even in goal. McCarthy and Gunn were in goal for them. So it's an incredible deal. And the way he played against the Goons recently, you've got to say he is a top quality goalkeeper to have as a number 2. And I was saying the other day on another stream, actually, with Forster, this will be the first second choice goalkeeper. If Lloris got injured, I wouldn't be worried. I think our defense is good enough, and I think he is capable enough just to come in and step in and do a few games for us if he had to. So it'll be very interesting to see how we do in the FA Cup and League Cup next year with Forster in goal. Perisic, I'm not surprised. To be honest, I'm not surprised because of Paratici. I've just started watching Juventus All or Nothing because of Paratici now. So it's his last season. So this is Paratici and Juventus thing. They'll bring in a lot of free transfers. So I'm not completely shocked. And the fact we've got the Conte factor, I'm not surprised at all. What's going to be more interesting in the next couple of weeks is to see how much money we're actually going to spend.
Yeah.
I think that's where I'm going to be like, okay, let's see what happens there. If Bastoni gets over the line, even I'm going to be like, what the hell's going on at our club? However, as the question you asked earlier, has things changed? Things changed in January for me when, we got rid of Ndombele, Lo Celso, Dele Alli went on a free. Let's be honest, that's not Levy-esque. He keeps hold of players until, they've completely gone past it and he can't sell them no more. So I'm shocked. I'm a bit surprised, but at the same time, I'm not, because if you're going to show Conte that you're meaning business and Paratici has got the football side of things and we ain't got Levy trying to come in and do that football side, then why not? Why not? What are we surprised? But let's see how it goes, because it's all good doing it in this window. We've got a few windows. We've got a couple windows after that, and if you can't just do it for one window, and that's the only thing. So it's good to see right now, but let's see if when it comes to January again, right? Because let's be honest, if we hadn't signed Bentancur and Kulu,
we wouldn't be fourth.
We wouldn't be fourth. We wouldn't be fourth, and that's just a good thing, because Arsenal, Man United, and West Ham didn't sign nobody. So that's how important the January transfer window can be.
But then you have to also take into account as well that, generally, even from as early as Poch days, we've really needed this rebuild. And to be honest with you, in the summer and obviously in January, players did go and a couple did come in. And we have to just be frank, to get the squad to the level that we really want it to be at, it's probably going to take a few windows to get a lot of these guys out, and it's going to take a few windows to also get some of the guys you want in. I mean, whilst it's positive that we're getting some of these guys in, one of the biggest things that I actually really wanted last summer in January was for these guys who are on big wages, who are not playing much, not really inspired that much, to just be moved off the wage bill, and obviously from the squad. And we're talking about the big guys like Dele on big wages and Ndombele on big wages, Lo Celso on big wages, and these guys, they're not really playing. They're not really that happy. So actually, I think half the issue that we had was actually keeping these guys in the squad, in and around the squad, and allowing them to kind of take positions that maybe players who are a bit more hungry can do.
Okay, I'm going to go to Billy now, just because someone made a comment. Okay, so I'm not going to ask you whether you're going to turn on Levy, because I haven't turned either myself, so I can't say I'm Levy in or whatever it was. So, but do you think that? That's a good question, I think, to ask you. Do you think all the 150 million will actually go into the transfer kitty, or do you think some of it will go somewhere?
It's not meant to be 150 million, is it? It's meant to be the This is the thing, and it was brought up in a space. We've got the 150 million. We've got the Champions League money and the normal budget, but that's not all for transfers. It's for say whatever Perisic's cost as wages and thing that comes out of this budget. Whatever Forster's costing wages. That comes out of this whole budget. So that's why I'm saying if you get all the free transfers done early, and Bastoni, he's number one. He's obviously, from what I'm hearing, and this is mainly from Jacko, he nurtured him. He brought him through it into Milan as a kid, something he doesn't do. If you get them 4 targets in, then you can start looking at around the squad about what he really, really wants to add into it as the extras, because he's got his main core then of what he wants. I don't know about this Jed Spence. I think that's a cheap deal. It's an easy deal done, and it's definitely an upgrade on Emerson.
Yeah,
I think we can't really dispute that, really.
I personally, like I'll look at. I know a lot of people are against Emerson, but it's a case of he played the last how many games in the business end of the season. How many mistakes did he actually make? And he played well. He didn't play badly. I know, and I get what everyone's saying. He's not. At the end of the day, I know he can't cross. I know he ain't great going forward, but actually defensively, he was. You know, he played both twice against Man City and he played against Liverpool as well, right? And that game against Liverpool, he played really well. I know he had to defend, but I know a lot of people like slag him off. But I felt like he actually improved in the last few games, and I get what people, you know, he's 22, he's had to come in and settle, and it wasn't like the rest. Right, we had Brian Hill was there as well. He didn't come in and settle. So you got to look at it and go, I've seen Jed Spence, and I don't really get whatever I get because he's English and young and everything like that. But I don't think let's put it this way: would you go and put Jed Spence to play against Liverpool, Man City?
No,
we had him
personally, no.
No, you wouldn't.
But you put Royale. But
you wouldn't. You wouldn't. I'm sorry, you wouldn't. He's not a player, and I don't mean to like dispute what you're saying.
Yeah.
I just feel that at Tottenham, in a 3-5-2 under Conte, his automation, his build-up play, his progressive, his progression in football is so important for the fullbacks. And clearly, Emerson is a right back. He's not a right wing back. So there's no way.
To be honest, I don't even think he's a right back as well. Where I'm going with it, I think we need to go out and buy. If we're going to go out and buy a right back, Jed Spence is not the answer. Jed Spence, basically, what my thing is, Jed Spence is not the answer. What you're kind of looking at, you need 2 top quality wing backs. Reguilon, Cess, Doherty, and thing are not the answer in a Conte system. And everyone's been talking about Jed Spence and all this, and I'm like, I think a lot of people only watched Nottingham Forest this year against Arsenal and was it Leicester?
Yeah, I agree.
And everyone was getting excited over those 2 games. But let's be honest, the guy went on loan to Middlesbrough for a reason, right? Middlesbrough haven't kept him, and if you saw him today, you'd sit there and go, could you imagine him trying to play Man City or Liverpool tomorrow? He would get eaten alive.
So,
right?
I disagree massively.
Go on. Why, Josh? Why, Josh?
Okay.
Right.
Why,
so
Josh?
I didn't watch just those 2 games. I went to uni in Nottingham, so I really like Nottingham Forest. So I watched quite a lot of them. Middlesbrough loaned him out because he was very young at the time, and he's still, he is quite young.
Apparently, it was an attitude problem. That's the reason. And that's another reason why we didn't want to sign him.
So there's 2 things. One, he's young. He's not in the right headspace. He didn't fit the ideas of the manager because, it wasn't working out. We have that with players where players, have a bit of a poor attitude at one club. They go to another club and they're happy, and all of a sudden, they transform. Jed Spence is as accomplished on the ball as anyone else. I mean, he's clearly not Alexander Arnold. Very few players, but he's very much a Premier League player on the ball. He's brilliant. He's not had amazing players around him. I don't think he's the answer as the first choice right back, but I think both Doherty and Emerson aren't good enough. And I know we got excited with Doherty because he had a few good games, but he only had a few good games and then he got injured.
He tops his line now.
Yeah.
18 months. You can't have 3 good games in 18 months and suddenly people think, oh, you're decent again. No, you're not.
Exactly.
You've been rubbish. You've been rubbish.
Jed Spence would be a great signing. And then I would like to see us go for another winger.
Yeah, exactly.
What I want us to get is Joachim Mailer from Atalanta because of the same
Danish
reason.
fella.
The same reason why we'd be going for Perisic. 2-footed, which is great because they can, play inverted, capable of playing on both sides, and he's Danish. He was one of the players of the Euros, I thought, and especially if we're able to get Eriksen back, that would be good. Playing with Højbjerg and Eriksen, potentially, it's all ifs and buts. But I think Jed Spence would be a great signing for Spurs, and I'm not saying as a first choice player, but in the cup games, maybe even a player that's worth signing, and loaning back to Forest.
Yeah, I'm the same.
I agree with that. I think
he's got bags of potential. I totally agree. He's not, ready to be a Premier League winning right back. But remember what happened with Reece James. He was at Wigan Athletic in League One, even lower, level. He didn't get promoted with them. He has been one of the players of the season at Forest who have just been promoted back to the Premier League, which most Forest fans that I know thought was impossible a year ago. So he's clearly doing something right. But I see him as a sort of similar level to Ryan Sessegnon, and I would keep Sessegnon as a backup. And I think in a cup game, that would be quite nice. And again, helps with the English quota. But yeah, I do think we need two. We definitely need to. Emerson is not the answer.
I'm going to ask a big elephant in the room because I've been thinking this all day. Do we think Jed Spence is a Conte/Paratici signing, or is it a Levy signing? Because that's the sort of signing that we used to make back in like 2006.
Conte, 100%. He's young. You see what happened with Moses. Moses was older when that happened. Conte has shown a willingness to develop younger players. He's been patient with Sessegnon. You saw what he did with Bastoni at Inter before he obviously came to Spurs. I think that Conte is a lot more complex in terms of man management than I think a lot of people on Twitter might think that he is. I think that, he is just genuinely incredible. And I think that's why there's this change, because Levy, he's probably too stubborn to admit that he's, screwed it up.
Yeah.
But we'll all be outside the ground with our flags, our banners. We won't stop until he gets out the club if he lets this chance go.
So, Billy, do you think, because we're talking about Jed Spence, I'm not sure if you heard it, sorry. Do you think Jed Spence is a Conte/Paratici signing, or do you think it's another Levy signing like before? Assuming it happens, right?
If he goes out on loan, well, they reckon we don't want to loan players out anymore. We want them to come straight into the first team. I think Gil and Pape Sarr wasting that budget in January. In the summer transfer window when we desperately needed players. But there was the leadership. I don't know if the Levy Paratici come in late, didn't he? So Levy was still behind a lot of the deals.
Yeah.
Paratici's probably sat down with him and said, "Look, he's come in, got what he could as late as he could, hasn't he? I didn't have a lot of time. It just didn't work out. So maybe, but time will tell. If Levy steps away from the transfers and leaves it, personally, I'd rather Conte choose the players with Paratici just negotiating the deals, because Levy's just got to sign the checks off.
Is that not the answer to your question, though, with Levy not going to that meeting in Italy?
Yeah.
What do you think Conte and Paratici?
That's what I thought as well.
It's going to be the squad, and I've seen Conte say many a time he wants all his players, and he said this at Inter, and he said this at Chelsea as well, and he said the same now. He wants his whole squad for the start of pre-season. Of course, you get a top quality player at the end of the window that becomes available, you're going to act, but he wants the core of his squad before pre-season, and that's how you get that, those little advantages. And that's, and I think it was going back to what we were talking about in terms of the players leaving in January. I thought you made a really good point earlier, in terms of that change, because Lo Celso, from all accounts that I've heard, wasn't very popular in the squad, a bit of a sort of miserable so-and-so. And, Ali clearly wasn't playing with the right attitude, and Dombele's attitude stinks as well. And I think that the results have been changing because not only are they learning Conte's style of football, but it's the team spirit. Liverpool, City have amazing team spirit. The players are like, brothers. And you can see that and you can feel that they're fighting for each other. They're, walking through fire for their managers. And I feel like we're starting to see that shift. And I think that, Levy is not going to get involved in that if he has, any brain cells. Which
So
I think he does.
Does everyone think that he's gone to the White House and someone's locked the door and not going to let him out for the next 3 months?
Of course not. Of course not. He's
Absolutely
not. He's going to get involved somewhere, and he's probably, probably there somewhere in the background doing his stuff as he normally does. But I think after the whole Conte coming in November, and actually for the first time in that stadium, it being mentioned, it's kind of, I think he suddenly started to go, actually, this is, if I don't do this well now, this is going to come back and bite me.
That's it.
And that's a big key thing. And I've always said this, like, a lot of people on social media could be Enoch and Levy out, but at the end of the day, it's down to season ticket holders. They have the biggest say. It's not down to what happens on social media, because a lot of the season ticket holders are still, unfortunately, for most of us, Levy in. Right, and if you've only got 2,000 season ticket holders that leave you out, but the other 40,000 are going every week, won't say nothing.
What?
You have a thing, but this is the problem you've got, because
I'd say there's more Levy out season ticket holders than 2,000. But
no, I'm just talking in preference, because if you have a majority that are not, the majority always is going to win at the end of the day.
It's more the fact that most people, I find, this is just my personal opinion, even though they might be Levy out or on the fence, they'd rather stay quiet rather than actually do something.
Well, and this is why I said.
Doesn't mean they're not Levy out. It just means that they're not going to say.
For us, for me, I'm a member, but I'm not season ticket holder, and I've always said I'll never buy a season ticket holder until Levy's gone. I don't care what we've got and what we do, right?
But thing is though, Marlon. All right, sorry, go on. So continue. Sorry.
No, but for me, I've always said, and like you look at that half time against Manchester United, or that substitution, that stadium for the first time made a noise and showed their discomfort. And look how quickly something was done. That's never, ever happened in the 20 years or 21 years we've all been supporting Spurs, right? And this is why I said it's the people that go to the games are more important than the rest of us sometimes, because actually they can have the biggest say and actually show their discontent when they're at the game, because that's what Levy doesn't like, and we've all seen that. However, it's a case of, because we haven't protested, let's be honest. Out of all when the ESL thing happened, we did protest. Right,
we protested in the summer as well.
Yeah, but you got compared. We probably had the weakest one when you looked at it.
Yeah, honestly speaking, we did.
I'd agree they were weak.
Yeah,
but I think the presence being there, they knew we were there.
Yeah,
even the banners. I know we never had numbers. People would come over and say something to you for say 10 minutes.
Yeah,
but I'd ask them, "Will you come and like stand here longer?" They'd all say yeah, but then a week later they didn't. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. To be honest, like that, this is probably us Spurs fans. We're probably not used to being in this little situation, and that's probably where it comes from. But at the end of the day, the moment of the season for us will always be Man United, because if that doesn't happen,
it's true,
right? If that doesn't happen, we're probably not all sitting here happy as pie. What's going to happen in the next couple of days? Sitting here in full spot, it does not happen. So it's a case of we'll just have to see what happens next and go with it. Levy will always be involved somewhere, but hopefully now, a lot of people have asked him to step away from that football side of things and just do the business.
Yeah. But I think I'm just talking I'm not talking for all Spurs fans, and I sort of am, but because we have an emotional attachment to the club, whether Levy's here or not, we're still going to buy season tickets. That's the problem, because unfortunately, I was brought up supporting Tottenham, and I can't just take it.
But
it's part of me, right?
But this is what Levy plays on. Yeah, but this is what Levy plays on. This is what Levy does actually play on. He knows full well. And
it's the honest truth.
Yeah, it's the honest truth. Most season, let's be honest, most people are going to buy season ticket no matter what.
Even if we're awful next year,
we could have finished 16th this year. Would still be filling, every single season ticket holder. Most of them would still probably buy next year, because you have the affiliation with the club. And
It's part of
unfortunately,
you.
yeah,
That's
Levy,
how I
we've
feel.
got to remember, Levy's a businessman and he's going to play on everyone's emotions when it comes to it. That's what he does. And unfortunately, that has worked for him because he's now been here how long? And he's still, until this summer, well, we'll see what happens this summer. Until this summer, this is the first time we've seen a change in what, 20 odd years?
And the policy as well.
Yeah. So we've got to look at it like that.
I mean, they have said the ground will be a game changer. It is time now for them to step up with that. And I've said this many a times and people know it. As I say, I keep saying, oh, it's their club. They can do what they want, the Levian people. I go, well, it ain't really their club, is it? They say we're self-sustainable. All the money they've used to build this club has come from us fans. It's actually our club.
I feel uncomfortable with the fact that Joe Lewis is the official owner of the club and he lives in the Bahamas and he's not involved with the club in any way. And, we can say what we like about Daniel Levy, in, out, it doesn't matter, because I feel like, there was a good point made about, our affinity to the club, but our sort of emotional connection with the club.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I reckon for most fans, their emotional connection with the club is football. It's not the politics of the club. And I think there are fewer of us who care so much about all sides of the club, including the business side. I think a lot of Spurs fans I know, they couldn't care less about who runs the club, whether it was Saudis or whether it was Levy. It doesn't matter.
I couldn't care less.
They just want to support the team. And if they're playing well, they're happy as Larry. And if they're not, they're not. They're booing the team. It's, we're all so fickle as football fans. And, Levy in or out, people are going to buy season tickets. And whether you decide to or not because of Levy, it's down to your own personal preference.
It's the connection. It's the emotional connection.
Exactly. And
that's
at the
what
moment,
it is.
Conte ball is a beautiful thing.
Conte
And
effect.
our fans have been rubbish at the start of the season. And for the last couple of years, they were pretty rubbish. And then towards the tail end of the season, haven't heard fans that good in the Premier League in my lifetime.
It's true.
Let alone,
I think the last 3 games consistently, the fan base was rocking. I think a lot of that boiled down to Arsenal fan TV trying to think they could rattle us. Let's walk down Tottenham High Road. That's stupid. we'll show them North London in red. Yeah, come down. We'll show you what to do. What's going to happen? You will be intimidated as fuck. Your players will be scared, shitting themselves. The atmosphere. You're coming into a cauldron of hatred. And the players basically, Rob Holding basically bottled it within 20 minutes.
And I said before that Arsenal game, I said to a lot of people that was going to be the game that stadium officially opened. And when I meant that, I meant that.
I remember.
Do you remember I said that? And I said the atmosphere is going to be the most incredible, because we hadn't had that Arsenal game yet. And I've always found whenever, especially during the season, whenever the first Arsenal game was, that was always the best and biggest atmosphere, no matter what time of the year it was. And then all of a sudden, it had a roll-on effect for the rest of the season. And I used to like playing Arsenal at home quite early because it literally lifted the fan base up until that game. And then and I said that when that Arsenal game came up, I knew that after that, it would literally floor Arsenal, because Arsenal have never been in that intimidation where every single fan hates them. And it was a lot for the young players to take. And let's be honest, they crumbled. They absolutely crumbled. Forget the atmosphere at Newcastle and what happened there. They were still feeling the effect from Thursday, right? Because as for them, a lot of them players, the North London Derby Emirates, everyone likes them. It's a different atmosphere. But coming to, that Tottenham Hotspur Stadium for the first time with a crowd, it was always going to be different. And, it was the way it was after the party atmosphere. It went on to Burnley and it went on to Norwich away, because that Norwich away game, that's the first away game I've been to in so long, and it's been vibrant. Everyone's on the same page. Everyone's happy, and the players could feel it, and that went in their performance, and that's why Norwich became such an easier process to take in the game.
So now we've spoken about Levy, Forster, Perisic, gone on like a million other tangents, because that's just how this show is. So let's actually get into the transfer window. So I've compiled a sort of ABB sort of spreadsheet here. So I'm going to share with you guys. So first of all, we're going to go over players that are on the transfer list, if that's a good way to phrase it. So let me just go onto share screen. Hold on, share screen, and let's go to window. Okay, share. This is working. Oh, can you all see it? Is that right? Can you see it?
Yeah, good.
It's all good. Okay.
Mhm.
So I'm gonna give you just 1 minute just to skim through the names. Then I'll take it off the screen, and I'll ask you about who you think shouldn't be on this list, if you do think anyone shouldn't be on this list. The question mark at the end is one that, to me, is is it going to happen? Is it not going to happen? The ones in green are ones that apparently the club are possibly will sell if a good offer comes in. The ones in red for me are players that are probably definitely on the way out. Okay, so I'll give you 30 seconds to a minute just to look at them, and I'll just go to each once and just see what you have to say. Okay, so is there anyone on this list that you don't agree with, or is there anyone on this list that you think?
There's no one I don't agree with. I just don't see us getting another centre half, and I see Sanchez having to stay. Brian Gill, he's out on loan. If we might need the money, we'd sell. Everyone in red. In Don Belly's the first one I want out.
Yeah.
I don't care what they do, how they do it. If they do it in a Dele Alli style way, take the hit, just get rid of him. Lo Celso, in my opinion, done enough for Villarreal to get a transfer fee, whatever it is. Just take what you can. Because I remember a few years back, we were going to sell Wanyama to, was it Club Bruges?
Yeah, and the deal fell through, didn't it? Yeah.
Then he ended up going for free. So Levy's fucking about, cost him £6 million. And Carter Vickers there, he's meant to be going to Celtic for $6 million. He's earned his money for the club from coming through the ranks with all these loan fees and final transfer.
I'm not convinced by that. I think Carter Vickers has earned his money, and that's a poor deal from us. I think he's been easily Celtic's player of the season. Everyone around the club.
Yeah, because I've heard Chris Sutton say that as well. Yeah,
and the only thing that I can imagine for a fee to be that low for him is going to be because it was agreed within the terms of that loan. Otherwise, we should
I think you're right. Yeah.
Yeah, we should be looking to get more money than that for him. At least 10 million for him. The way he's been playing this season, he's been absolutely magnificent. The games that I've seen him, he's just looked so composed, and it's not going to work for him. But it's a shame that we don't get more money for that. And I think also we've got to drum up as much money for Lo Celso as possible as well.
I watched the FA Youth Cup semi-final for Tottenham, and my mate's a Chelsea fan. We lost to him, and he was the only Tottenham player who impressed me because he defended.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Defended, but Mason Mount that day run the game, and I said to my mate, "You've got some player there in Mount. All right, he's might not be everyone's cup of tea, but he completely destroyed our team that day."
So do you think he's on his way out though? He must be on his way out.
Yeah,
he's got.
He's gone.
Maybe have a testimonial before he goes or something. So I couldn't.
Deserves it.
So Tops,
how old is he?
Sorry?
How old is he?
23, 24.
He's only 24, isn't he? Yeah.
Who?
He's not here forever, but never.
Carter Vickers.
Oh, he's 23 or 24. Yeah,
he's still quite young, to be fair.
He's actually quite young, yeah.
So Tops, is there anyone on that list that I showed that you think shouldn't be in the red?
Tanganga. I feel like he's young, homegrown. You can probably you can probably try and mold him to play that sort of right centre back role instead of Sanchez, or if Romero's out in a cup game. I think there's a lot of potential in Brian Hill. It kind of annoyed me that he came out and said that the Premier League was a bit too physical for him. When everyone knows that's traditionally what the Premiership is about. Pace, power, physicality. So for him to say that after the fact kind of annoyed me. But then again, he's played quite well since he's returned to Valencia. So I think there's still definitely a player there, and he's different in.
He doesn't agree.
I think he's just different in his style. He's a winger. He sticks very close to the byline. Very good dribbler. He seems pretty quick. Receives the ball in the half spaces quite well. Traps it nicely. And we don't have many players like this. And players like him, they're not really that. They're kind of rare these days in terms of his style. But I kind of feel like for now, probably him and Tanganga. With regards to the rest,
get rid.
I mean, I just feel like we kind of have to. Like the one that upsets me the most is probably Ndombele, just because of the potential, the fact that we took a gamble on a guy who was pretty much one of Europe's, most wanted midfielders at the time, and he's on such big wages. I just feel like, even though I would like him to probably go at this point, I just feel it's going to be such a difficult deal to get rid, because he's on 200,000 a week. He's still got 2 or 3 years on his deal. It hasn't really worked out at Lyon. How do you structure a deal to get that sort of wages off your book? And then also just based off the tape that there is of him, at least if you had someone who was playing 7, 8 out of 10 for half a season, you could probably spin that. But he's played at such a poor level, not just for the 3 years at Spurs, but even from what I've seen at Lyon, he hasn't really performed at an adequate level. So I kind of think
they don't want him. If they don't,
no one wants him. No one wants Ndombele anymore.
Because one of the big things that really upsets me about it is that, and I really do mean this. So kind of take what I'm saying with, just be patient with what I'm saying. Whilst I feel, in many respects, he has disappointed us since he's been at Tottenham, I also kind of feel that we've maybe given him false hope, and we've disappointed him in many respects. And the reason I say this, is because I feel like this is like, let's just be frank as anything. This is a player who's exceptionally gifted technically. He is a fantastic footballer, all right? However, you have to take into account all the different things that come with that. First of all, this is a player, if you look into his background, this is a player who hasn't had to do what the regular footballer has had to do. He hasn't had to play in academies. He hasn't had to rise through the ranks, because he's had the ability from the beginning. So his actual elevation to first team football has been way quicker than the regular guy. And obviously things like that that come with the money, the fame, X, Y, Z. Secondly, I feel like Pochettino knew that this was the kind of central midfielder that we would need. If anything, his style of play was somewhat molded in the way that Moussa Dembele was, in the sense that extremely press resistant, extremely good dribbler, very good at moving the ball from midfield to defence. And I just feel when he came to Spurs, after that first sort of area where he got injured and maybe he wasn't completely fit, I just feel that a lot of fans and maybe even some coaches kind of said, this is our guy who I don't really think we can trust. Whilst he's amazingly talented, we don't really think that he's probably going to be able to make it. And I think to myself, do you have the kind of players to put around him that are going to be able to perform at the right level? You've just come off the back of the Champions League final. You've got Harry Kane, you've got Son, you've still got Eriksen by a thread. Can you be able to support this guy who's a quality player with more players like this? I don't think we did that. And in the end, it ended up petering out. He gave up. I feel like the club gave up, because obviously when we had that documentary, you remember he had that meeting with Levy, and it almost looked as if we were at a point where we didn't really want it to happen. But even as a big Ndombele fan now, from what I've seen, at home to Wolves, at home to Morecambe, away to Burnley, you can't substitute just hard work and graft. You can't. And if you don't give that as a player, then obviously people are going to look at you and say, I can't trust you. And clearly Conte doesn't.
I just want to say something, just affirming his point. I don't know if anyone remembers when the link to Ndombele came out on Twitter that we were getting him. There was a article by Get French Football, I can't remember exactly the exact source that was sourced from, saying that Pochettino told him that we were going to challenge for the title or something the following season. So do you feel like, I'm just affirming your point in some ways, that he was sort of sold a dream?
Yeah, and I know it sounds crazy, but I really do feel Tottenham were playing at a goodish level. up to the point, even the Champions League. And to be honest with you, we had injuries. The season didn't start amazingly, and then obviously Poch got sacked. So obviously, the person who actually wanted him ended up leaving. The guys who he kind of likes aren't playing that much, and he had this idea that he was going to go to a team that would be challenging, probably for the league, and playing competitively in the Champions League. That year, we got smashed 7-0 by bloody Bayern Munich. Like, so you have to kind of think, okay, I don't know, maybe yes, on his part, absolutely. But I also just think we did a little bit sell him a dream, and it just hasn't worked. Sometimes, you know, that's how transfers go. It's 50-50.
I guess. Yeah.
It just
He
happens, you
joined at
know.
the worst time, didn't he? There was so much sort of clearly everything with Poch was going a bit stale because before we signed him, we were in relegation form towards the back end of that season. Obviously, got to the Champions League final, which was a great achievement. But, you know, he comes in at a very difficult time. You know, you've got players like Harry Winks there who, you know, as much as I respect and love the fact that he's Spurs through and through, but he's just not good enough. You know, there are players there that just weren't good enough. And we are probably quite guilty as a fan base of being very quick to get on a player's back. I think it's probably all football fans, but I don't think Spurs fans are particularly patient. I think until they just turn it around and all of a sudden play amazing, you know, I think that we did get on his back quite quick, and he was immense against Newcastle away this season at the start of the season.
Yeah,
but the next home game, he wasn't, you know, given that same sort of level of hype. Everyone was sort of going crazy about that one game, but he didn't follow it up with a performance. The fans didn't get behind him either. You know, it wasn't going to happen. And I think we were speaking about Brian Hill earlier.
I'm a fan of him. I actually quite like him.
You saw me sort of shaking.
Yeah.
I think he's a tremendously talented footballer. But I think the reality is there are some players that just are not built for the Premier League.
But don't you think...
There are some players that just don't work and play. He would be brilliant in Italy. He's brilliant in Spain. He's young. Sure, if he turns it around, and you're going to hate me for doing a comparison to someone from Arsenal, but when Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain was at Arsenal and he was sort of like a winger at the start, he was tiny and then he got an injury and then he beefed up and he became pretty you know, big, and he was a completely different player. He turned into a central midfielder. For Brian Hill to work at Tottenham, he's got the technical ability. I do think that he would have to undergo a similar body transformation where he would have to toughen himself up. He would have to put on some pounds and, you know, really, otherwise it won't work.
I'm going to throw you something completely out of the blue for this one. So for Brian Hill, for me, when I watch him, people are going to go mental when I say his comparison, okay? But he reminds of like Luka Modric a lot in that his style and even just the way he plays. And for me, like, I'm going to be quite sad when we sell Brian Hill. And it's not obviously a player I really wanted. I didn't know who he was till he joined. But like, you can see there's something there. And I don't know whether if you built like a team around him, he would probably work. Because I don't know if he can play as a number 10.
Didn't you
in
think
this Conte system or something?
There was always something there, but there was always something missing as well.
I agree.
I quite like him personally, but
I think hugely his physicality it hinders him a little bit. I think technically he's there. I really do. I don't think he's got an issue technically. I feel like he's very, very good on the ball, but physically.
Where he span and turned, it was away in the cup, and it was an amazing move. But
Wolves, wasn't it? I think it was Wolves in the cup.
Yeah, I don't know. I just feel maybe
there is talent there. There's massive talent there,
and he's very young as well. You know, he's still young as well. Just needs a bit of time. Maybe as well, like, you know, he's a young lad making the big move into England. Away from home, and weirdly, him going back to Spain and automatically feeling.
I think that was a bad move for him personally. I think he should have been loaned out to an English club.
Norwich.
Yeah, I was even at Norwich.
Yeah, but the question is, who's going to take him?
That's it, isn't it?
Because I don't remember who told me this, but someone told me that it's the worst time to loan him out if he wants to acclimatise to England. To loan him out at that time was. He basically had to go through it to acclimatise with the country, but he really missed Spain. But once you get through that first year, there's more chance, obviously, that.
So actually, this is a very good point because it goes back to Tops's point about Ndombele, and personally, it's something at our club is that we never look after players properly, and Ndombele is another one who needed looking after when he came here, and we didn't really look after him. And then what happened is when you look at that summer after the Champions League, all them players never settled because let's be honest, how many managers they all had? 4.
Yeah.
And if the club's unsettled, how do you expect players to settle? At the end of the day, you got the likes of the senior players like Harry Kane and Son, obviously been here before, so they're good enough to do it. But if you're bringing in any of the players that have come in, I think Højbjerg's probably the only one that really settled, and that's because he played in the Premier League. But the club, as a period, we're not settled, and we until now, this is the first time since probably before Poch December, before we went on that bad run, that we've actually now looked like we're going to go into a direction where we are going to be settled as a club, right? So we can't expect signings to be, coming in, hitting it off, right? And doing great. And Benson, Core and Kulu have come in at a point where actually we've got Conte, and Conte is the long-term project kind of thing. So actually the players started to feed into Conte's system, but they were then already used to it because playing at Juventus, and that's kind of, they love Conte at Juventus, by the way. So it was easier for them to come and settle in. And Galini, and this is something that came up earlier, is that actually having someone like Galini at the club where he played in England before with Villa, he basically said to Kulu, if you're struggling and anything, just come to my house, it's fine and stuff like that. This is the type of things you need at the club. And I don't think we've had that, where as soon as Serge Aurier and Sissoko went for Ndombele, it literally, we thought it was bad, it just got worse, right? And that's the thing I find at our club, that we don't look after players very well. We need them to have a strong mental attitude before they've even got there. You need someone like a Luka Modric who's got the attitude of going, but he had his 3 mates here when he started because he had Kranjčar and Čorluka. So he was able to settle. And that's the big problem, that when we go and sign players, we don't think about actually once they're signed, what we're going to do to look after them. And I find that's a big issue with Spurs. And if you go back to that summer, with Ndombele, we were expected to get Bruno as well that window.
Yeah, I remember, yeah.
Right? And Lo Celso was just really the backup. And they gave him Lo Celso because he could negotiate with Lo Celso, where Sporting Lisbon said, no, we want 60-odd million. And Levy didn't want to spend 60-odd million on Fernandes and 60 million on Ndombele in one window, because it's just not the Spurs thing to do. And that's the thing with Ndombele. Like, he's probably the only player that we've all Spurs fans have gone, he's got the talent, it just hasn't worked out for him at the club. Sodado's another one that came in, big price tag, and again couldn't settle. And it seems to be a common theme with us. When we spend big money, why can't these players end up coming to Spurs and settling? And that, I've always said, there's always something wrong inside the club, behind the scenes, to why this is happening. And that's why I'm not giving all the signings a really bad rep. It hasn't settled. They haven't done great for us, yes. But let's be honest, we've had 4 managers that they've all had to play for, and that's not good. You're not going to be settled.
You're
exactly.
Right,
absolutely.
This is where what Marlon says about this right wing back. What's his name?
Jed Spence?
No, the Danish fella.
Oh, Donny Marlon.
Yeah. If you bring him in, if we get Ericsson, he's got Højbjerg.
Oh, right, yeah.
Can I ask you a quick question? I wanted to ask you, Josh and Billy, about Christian Eriksen, because why would you bring Christian Eriksen back?
Why would you not?
No, I'm just asking because the reason why I'm asking are you bringing Christian Eriksen back?
Why would you not?
Because we haven't replaced him since he left, right? And it's a free transfer, and you're thinking like that, or is it a case of should we be going back to a player that actually, let's be honest, wanted to leave the club? Right, you have to forget everything that happened in Euro 2021, because at the end of the day, we all wanted Christian Eriksen to recover. But for us as a club, why are we bringing back players that we haven't replaced? And this is the mentality we need to get out of. That
I understand what you're saying. I do have an answer for it.
Go on, go on, answer the question, because I was going to go into that. I'll ask you guys the question.
Right. Sentiment aside, if we only had 3 subs rule next year, I'd say go and get someone else. Because we've got to bulk the squad up, we're going to need the 3 transfers. Ericsson coming back is a good player, regardless of what we think and him wanting to go. If he's played under Conte as well, and he knows the club, he knows the players, and he knows he ain't going to play 90 minutes every week. That is one of the reasons why I think it's a no-brainer on a free.
I would
Okay.
also add to that. I would say the other thing, you've got 5 subs, like you say, totally agree. But we need to think, why did he want to leave the club? Because we weren't matching his ambition. He wanted to go on
exactly
and win trophies. He went to Inter Milan and won the league there. You know, Tottenham went from Champions League final to a complete collapse almost. And Eriksen, in the same way that Trippier was told he should go, big mistake, worst time to do that. Everything top to bottom at the club wasn't right. And Eriksen, yes, he knows the league. Yes, but it's something different as well. We're being linked with wingers. We're being linked with strikers. We're being linked with, all sorts of players, but we've not been linked heavily with a number 10,
a creative player,
a creative central midfielder. He can show he's a versatile enough player to play slightly deeper if you need him to in a cup game. But actually having that ability to change our shape is really important. But also, as much as I love Bastoni, I love Perisic, they're not guaranteed to hit the ground running. You'd hope that they are, because they seem like they're world-class players. Eriksen is a player will hit the ground running because he knows the Premier League. He's used to it. He's been brilliant for Brentford. A lot of the journalists, I was reading the reports of loads of journalists doing their player of the season and signing of the season, all of those things. So many of them said that Eriksen was a signing of the season. Brentford have had an incredible season, and Eriksen has transformed that team. They were in terrible form. As soon as he joined, they went on a mad run. So,
But question,
I don't know. I just feel like whilst there's really good positives, like Billy said, he knows the club. Like Josh said, he's a really good player. He's played under Conte. I just feel that like we're missing, like, there's 2 things that I think are like huge here. So from what I understand, the reports are saying that on his 6-month deal at Brentford, he's on something like 6 million, which is something in the region of 220, 250 a week. He's not going to come to Spurs on any less than what he was receiving at Inter or Brentford, which means he's going to be on high wages, whatever the case. And secondly, like, I actually work in cardiology, so I have a lot of interest and I've done a lot of research into what he has. And from what I remember and what I know, players that play with pacemakers are really walking miracles if we're going to keep it a buck. These are kind of issues that the common person often has problems with when they often change, because a lot of the time you find that these patients, whilst they're each different, their heart rhythms tend to always revert to what it was that caused them to have a pacemaker. And generally in the UK, people who have long-term pacemakers, especially if you're under 30, if you're under 55, you're usually patients who are candidates for heart transplants. So the fact that he's playing at this level,
isn't it?
is an absolute miracle. And I just think, just from like a health perspective, I just don't think it's worth the risk. I don't know. I just feel like there's a lot that could be at play with it, and I just feel like he's someone that we should maybe just, whilst the opportunity is there, we should maybe just maybe ignore this one. But I don't know. That's just me. That's just from my perspective. I see all the positives as well, though. I see all the positives.
Oh, everyone sees all the positives.
It's because we lack creativity. Yeah. That's the thing.
I think that's the issue we need to address first as a club. Let's go, because we're not addressing the actual issue. Because Christian Eriksen, as both of them said, you both said, and then this is a vital part, that we've got the 5 sub rule next year. Christian Eriksen's not going to want to come here and sit on the bench. So, you are then asking him to start.
He might not.
Would you play him in a 2 midfield? Would you play him next to
if we have a game,
you can't sit there and play Christian Eriksen in the 2. Brentford don't even. You need, because he can't. He's not going to be doing. He couldn't play in a 2 midfield when he was at us. He played in a he
No,
played
he
in a
did
3
under
But
Pochettino. I remember against Swansea.
yeah, but you're talking about this is a player that's going to play in a 2 midfield, and we can't sit and rely on Christian Eriksen playing in a 2 midfield in a 3-4-3. And that's what. And this is the thing. Christian Eriksen personally thinks he's good enough to be playing every week. Now the Premier League's a different animal, and if you're going to expect, let's be honest, Christian Eriksen is not the tackler, so you're relying on Bentancur to do it. But right now, we don't know what Bentancur is going to be like if you do put a certain player like, because at the moment he's got Højbjerg, so you're kind of looking at it going.
But Bentancur is a versatile player, though.
Yeah,
he can play deeper.
But are you going to be relying on Bentancur to? So personally, with the midfield situation, I think it's a case of we've got to be very careful on that player that plays next to Bentancur if we are replacing him with Højbjerg. And I think we need to address the attack of midfielder with a top quality player that's going to come in long term and not looking at the short termisms of it, if you get what I mean. Yeah.
I would say with that, Conte is not a long term manager, and we can't sit here and expect him to be at the club.
And if Conte,
there's a 3-year project, and he goes, he wins the league, and he goes to a new project. And I think that's the difficult thing that for us all to weigh up is we have this urge to want him to stay at the club for a long period of time, do a Klopp or a Guardiola and stay forever.
He's falling in love, he might do.
I think so. I think, going back to Eriksen, I would like him back. I think he would be great with the 5-sub rule. However, and I think it allows you to change the shape if it's not working.
Yeah, I agree. Totally agree with that.
Rather than a 3-4-3,
totally agree with it. Yeah,
you can put Son and Kane up top and play with
3-5-2,
and which Conte has done at Inter, isn't he? I believe.
Yeah. He has, and he likes to have 2 players in every position. But what I would say is, if I was Christian Eriksen, I'd stay at Brentford because I don't think that Eriksen cares about his club career as much as we'd hope he would. I think that what he cares about is playing at the World Cup because it's going to be probably his last World Cup. This is amazing what he's doing, and it's a miracle. He wants to play at the World Cup. And I think, if we offered him a 2-year deal or an 18-month deal, something short term for this one season where we all, would rightly expect us to push not just for top 4, but actually for the title, we should really give Liverpool and City a good go. He's a great piece to have in that puzzle. And I think he would do great things in terms of the team spirit, all of that. And I would have him on a short-term deal for that. If I'm him, I'd stay at Brentford. But from a Spurs perspective, I think he would be good. He would be good. And maybe he'll go back to Ajax afterwards. He's not got many years left at the top of his game. But I reckon 1 season or 2 seasons is not a huge risk.
Okay, so I'm going to ask one more question about the setting of the players to Marlon. So, as you saw, Emerson was on the list. Now, with the factor of Jed Spence that we've been talking, saying, we should buy Jed Spence and loan him out, is there a reality where Emerson stays at Tottenham?
If we don't get a right wing back to come in who's going to play now,
like a senior one,
do you think he
might stay?
Yeah, I've got a feeling that I believe that Royale has been linked to going to Atletico Madrid. So if that happens, I'm all for it. I'm not going to sit there and for me, I know he's not good enough to, for us. The problem I've got is when everyone goes, he's the worst signing and he's this and that and the other. When he's just played all these games at right back and hasn't cost us getting into the Champions League.
I mean,
if he's that bad, he wouldn't have.
We can't complain in that aspect, but also you have to think when he goes, we'll lose all the compilations after the games, I guess.
I think everyone's going to miss that. All
right, so now we finally finished the setting of the players.
I've got to go.
All right, okay, take care, Marlon.
Tots, Josh, Billy, nice to meet you. Yeah. Anybody who's watching this stream now, please like us, subscribe to him. And if you like my stuff as well, I do
follow
reviews.
Hotspur Hood and
the Hotspur Hood.
Yeah,
or View from the South End. Yeah. I do stuff on there.
I follow you already. Follow me and I'll follow you back. I'm useless at finding out.
But
right, take care.
No problem, mate. Thanks, guys. See you later.
Well, has you out and I'll follow you.
Okay, so now we're going to go to the actual buying of players. So we can skip the Ericsson part, but I'm going to go to the defense first because back to front, right? So
Yeah,
let's go shares.
Seems like he wants to get the defence sorted first.
So I've just compilated like a list of players that we've been linked with in defense. Okay.
Come on. Let's have a look.
I mean, obviously the obvious one is Bastoni, but take into mind that if we sell another centre half, I've been reading that we might buy someone else. And as a wing back, we spoke about Jed Spence, but there's also other players there that we've been linked with. So is there anyone there, for example, like you would think for sure?
Lamptey's injury problems do worry me. He doesn't play every game. I mean, I like out of all the players for right wing back. Personally, I think Lamptey's ideal, but his wings are susceptible. I still like Milan Skriniar, but at the end of the day, we have got some money, but we ain't Man City, Newcastle level. So the money has to be spent wisely in the right areas. So Bastoni, get him in. I like Singo from what Jacko.
Torino, yeah, he was talking. Jacko speaks about him a lot, doesn't he? Yeah.
I've never seen him play, but I sort of seem to have a little bit of trust in what Jacko says. To be fair.
There's also like a Leipzig right back. I think it's Mukulele or something.
Mukiele, he's decent as well.
Sorry if I said that wrong.
No, he's decent. He's decent. Yeah, he looks alright.
And there was another Leipzig centre half we were linked with as well.
Gvardiol?
Yeah, Gvardiol. He was on the Asda Gold list the other day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So what do you think about him?
He's good. Gvardiol is good, but we won't sign him. I can't see us signing him. I think he's going to go to a Real Madrid or a Bayern Munich. I think he is a great player, and he's so young and he's rapid. For me, I just personally can't see it. In terms of Singo, this is going to sound bad, but I think I've seen us sign too many right backs from, Italy, Spain, wherever, that do quite well there and don't turn out to be great when they come. I've not seen enough of Singo to have a real opinion of him.
Yeah.
Naturally, I can only go off the players that I have seen that we've been linked with.
I know, just like everyone else already.
I would go for other players than Singo. I think Mukiele is a good shout.
Yeah, I like him a lot, actually.
I love Joachim Mailer. He wasn't on your list, but Italian media were reporting that he's a player Conte really likes.
Is he? Oh, okay.
We've apparently, according to a couple of Italian outlets, we opened talks with Atalanta trying to sound out a price, and they'd want 20 million euros for him. So around 15, 17 million pounds max for a player that's two-footed, Danish national team. And I think some of the points we made earlier about
Ericsson,
the team, the team spirit. It worked when we had the Croatian players with Modric, Kranjčar, Čorluka. It worked with Dembele,
exactly.
Vertonghen. Having those players that play for club and country, it really does give you an extra edge as well. But the other player that I don't know if he was on that list that I do actually rate really highly is Nahuel Molina at Udinese.
Have we been linked with him? Because I haven't seen.
We have, yeah, and there's been a few different links. He's a player that I'm sure however many 15, 16 scouts and analysts Conte has brought into the club are probably looking at, but for that same reason, for Romero having a player next to the national team. So some interesting players on that list.
I mean, De Vrij is another one that I've seen linked, but I don't think we'll get that deal done this window.
Yeah, is it bad? I mean, we're struggling to get one player off them. They don't like.
We could end up taking all three.
You're not wiping out our whole defence. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't think they'll sell to Bastoni, to be honest.
I think Eric Dyer starts next season. I think Eric Dyer stays in that team. Obviously, Romero does. And I think to be honest, I quite like Sanchez. He's
As a
not
backup, he's not
amazing,
bad.
but as a backup, he's done what we needed him to do in those games. I think if you're going to get a big fee for him or use him in a swap deal, that would be interesting. But I just think, yeah, Bastoni, and then if we are going to get another centre back, then I think that, you know, we if we're not looking at an absolute world class centre back, there's no point.
We've got to keep Dyer for another year and hope one comes on the market a year after, haven't you?
Yeah. Do you see a scenario with Pau Torres and Lo Celso at all? Because that's one I've been saying.
I've not seen Pau Torres play, but I've heard good things about him. But
He's all right.
What I'm hearing about Bastoni, I think, like I said, I've never seen him play either. But what people say is, as Jacko says, generational talent.
Yeah, he's unbelievable. He can go.
I did see a stat of his the other day. In 2 years, he hasn't made one mistake leading up to a goal,
which is massive. I think what's great about Bastoni is he's good on both feet. His long range passing is amazing, and he'll get the ball. He'll take one touch and he'll switch the play. Do you remember? And I mean, this is a right throwback here, but Michael Dawson from the right-sided centre-back position. I haven't seen a player at Spurs. Toby's the only comparable one, but Dawson was the original one for me. Every single time he'd do that cross-field switch, spot on. Bastoni is the same, pretty much. He'll take one touch and he can switch the play, which is going to be great with a player like Kulusevski, or you know, even his balls down the line to Son. So it's that transition when we're counter-attacking. He's great for that. He's very composed. He can score headers. Some of his crossing, even, because Conte likes your left and right centre backs underlap and almost get forward as well when the midfielders hold. So he can actually deliver quite a good ball into the area as well, which is great in the way that, you know, Davis, you know, would come forward sometimes. So that's really exciting. I don't see Pau Torres happening, to be honest. I think if we're going to get, because it would have to be Lo Celso plus money. I actually reckon that we're probably more likely to just take the money for Lo Celso and spend it elsewhere. I think another centre back, a right-sided centre half centre back, centre back, you know, is a player that will probably do late if a really good player becomes available.
Do you think? What do you think about Kostic? Because I was hearing that once we've done Perisic, we're not going to do Kostic. So, do you see a scenario where we do still get Kostic?
No, it doesn't really look like it. I mean, I feel like the Kostic deal was a good one because
he's only
12 or 15 million, and he's a specialist at left wing back. But again, we're very fortunate that having signed Perisic, we've got someone who actually can play on both sides, set pieces, added goals, and actually, when I was looking at a lot of the stats, whilst Kostic has pretty much fantastic dribbling, assisting, attacking area sort of stats, Perisic is actually way more reliable on the defensive side of the ball as well. And you already know his ability going forward. So I think in this moment, if it's for free, on what, 100 grand a year, 100 grand a week for 2 years, I think that makes economically that's a way better deal for us to do than to give a 29-year-old quite a big deal and pay a transfer fee for that as well. Whereas also as well, one of the big things, like a lot of us have said tonight, the fact that he's played for Conte before makes a big difference. He'll know exactly what Conte wants. He'll know exactly how he wants him to perform, be it left wing back or right wing back. Whereas Kostic will probably have to take some time to learn some of the methods, some of the automations, all these different things as well.
So I'd compare Perisic is going to make such a huge difference, I think, for us.
100%. I'd compare it. I'd make this analogy, to be honest. It's like comparing an Audi R8 to, you know, a 458 Italia Ferrari. You know, some people are going to prefer the Audi to the Ferrari, but if you look at what the better option is. It's the Ferrari, and Perisic is the Ferrari in this case. You know, both are great cars, both are great players, both would improve the team. But I think it's, you know, that's the best way I could describe it. You are looking at the best player in the world in that position.
Yeah.
One of the players, I know the World Cup was 4 years ago now, and it feels crazy thinking that because it feels like yesterday. But, you know, I probably have more vivid memories of that World Cup than the Euros that just happened. So I would say, you know, Perisic for me, we're not going to do better in that position. You're signing the best player in the world in that position. And I don't think, other than maybe Kane and Son, who I wouldn't say aren't necessarily the number one best player in the world in their position, certainly up there. I don't think we're going to get that from another signing this window.
No.
Where you're signing the best player in the world in that position. So no brainer for me.
He's also Conte's man, so I mean you can't say no to him.
Inter were desperate to keep him. They tried really hard to keep him. But
I think we're very underestimating how much an effect he's going to have, because
I wonder if they went for dinner. with Perisic because they were in Italy at the same time as he was making his mind up. You do. It does make
I think they're not going to. I think they're not going to come back without the players they want.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Agreed.
Nice
So now I'm going to segment into the midfield. Sorry, Billy. So I've got some midfielders now to show. Okay, here we go. So we have touched on Eriksen already, but I have got another name on there that you might want to consider. We've been linked with. Okay, and if you can think of any other attacking midfielders, please let me know, because I really don't know. Oh, sorry. It's the defender still. Oops. Go. Stop sharing. Oops, sorry about that. Midfield. Sorry, it's the first time I've done this. Share screen. All right, here we go. I've got a lot of names on there. Now, there are only two cams that I found that we were linked with, Eriksen and Maddison. So if you can think of someone else that we were linked with, then please help me, because we haven't been linked with many. And then there's a long list of central midfielders there, like Basuma, McKennie, Zelinski, which is who Jacko actually mentioned before. I mean, Calvin Phillips, I like a lot of him.
I like Calvin Phillips.
Yeah. Ward-Prowse.
I like Prowse, but I think he'll cost too much. Tillman's for 25 million, I've read. And the other one I like John McGinn.
Yeah, he's a very good player.
Basuma would be my first choice, but I've heard because of all this stuff that he's a no-goer. Out of all them, Basuma would be my first choice, but it don't look like Conte's interested in him one bit.
Josh, is there a name on there that you prefer out of all the central midfielders?
There's some good players there. I actually, and a lot of people won't agree, I actually really like Thomas Souček. I think Souček gives you a different, and I understand why people won't like him, but he's very good. He's very good.
Damn now, isn't he?
No, but I think the problem is he is a box-to-box midfielder, and this is what West Ham have done wrong this season. Is Declan Rice is a holding midfielder, not a box-to-box midfielder. That box-to-box role was what Souček was doing. They swapped it around, and Souček was the holding midfielder, and Rice was the box-to-box. I think Moyes is a great manager, and he's done great at West Ham, but he's got that wrong. And Souček, especially if you can get an Eriksen in there as well. Imagine having a player like Souček who can get on the end of a ball for a cross. Harry Kane's not amazing in the air. He scored a couple of diving headers, but, I quite like that, but ultimately, I don't actually think that's the type of player we need. I don't think we should be looking at that kind of player, because I think Bentancur, Skip, Højbjerg, who is improving a lot, is good enough. And then for me, I'd be looking at a more attacking midfielder. The one player I would say out of all of those, John McGinn, I think, is one that I really like. Yeah. But actually, someone that wasn't on that list. If you're going to get a sort of box-to-box midfielder, if that's what you're after, a ball carrier, it's got to be Milinkovic-Savic.
I mean, he's a dream, but
it's available. He's a 60 million midfielder, so again, could be that risk.
It's going to cost you a lot. It's going to cost you.
We haven't really been linked with him that much this window, or the window hasn't opened, but we haven't been linked with him.
If he is available and he wants to go, to miss out on him, it's one of those that it's a risk either way, because if it goes badly, then you think, oh, you've just wasted all that money. However, if you miss out on him, you potentially miss out on a Bruno Fernandes or, an absolute game changer for a team. And I know Fernandes hasn't been great this season.
I don't think he's a game changer though, Josh. Yeah.
So who do you prefer tops then?
Who
do you want in central midfield? Because Winks is definitely on his way out, and then Ndombele's on his
Well,
way
for
out.
me, the thing about when I'm thinking about all these different changes, everything I keep thinking about is what are the type of players that will suit exactly the kind of play that Conte wants. So in his 3-5-2, he usually has two midfielders who are extremely comfortable in possession, who are very good on the ball, who are very good in terms of their work rates. So if you look at someone like when he first was at Chelsea, he had that in Matic and he had that in Kante. Then when he went to Inter, he had Barella and he had Brozovic. So when he's come to Tottenham, I feel like whilst Bentancur and Højbjerg are good and they've been good, I definitely feel that we can improve them. I definitely feel that Bentancur is in the type of midfielder sort of profile that he likes, and I feel like maybe the player that does drop a little bit in that is Højbjerg. I feel like Skip is a younger version of Højbjerg, and I think is a better version technically. In terms of midfielders that we can kind of get, personally, I think the kind of midfielder that we should be looking at is, like Billy said, I think is Basuma. I really do. I was reading the other day as well that he's changed his agent. He's changed his agent, sorry. Yeah. So I think we're about to get on the back end of all this stuff to do with whatever's been going on, and I feel like if the deal becomes available, I think he's the kind of, because again, one of the things I think is very important is that whilst we're looking for a player of that kind of profile, it would be preferred to have a player who is already Premier League sort of ready, who's already played in the Premier League, exactly. is a known quantity. I do kind of disagree with Josh on the sense about Souček. I feel like while Souček kind of works in that functional midfield with Rice, I just don't think Souček is very good technically. He's very good at the energetic stuff. He gets up and down and around the pitch well. He's physical. He gets the odd goal. But when you watch him technically, a lot of the time he hides. It's actually Declan Rice who gets on the ball and implements a lot of how they play, how they progress the ball, how they build up. But I mean that's just my opinion.
That's because of the change in system though, because the season before, when the year that they actually got into the Europa League, Souček was that player, and Rice was the holding midfielder. So it all depends. I mean, I see the positives and negatives of both. I really like Basuma as well. One player, I think, if you're looking at the absolute perfect player for Spurs, is one that just simply can't happen, which is Bruno Guimaraes from Newcastle.
Yes. I really like
looking at that type of midfielder that can kind of do it. He is the perfect player. And if Tottenham are willing to, and I don't know if it's true, I don't believe that we're after saint-maxim. I don't believe that's true. But if it was true and Tottenham were prepared to spend sort of that level of money, which he would be at least 70, 80 million pounds probably, that's what they probably want for it. That money is better spent on a player like Bruno Guimaraes, who I genuinely believe will end up at Real Madrid in a few years' time. He's that good.
Are you surprised we didn't move for him ourselves in January? Because there was a bit of talk, not a lot, that we were in for him. Because unlike you, I rate him.
I didn't see that Lyon were going to do the deal. They, I mean, from what I've heard from reading up on French journalists, is it something Jean-Michel?
Jean-Léon Laurent? Is it Julien Laurent?
No.
Or Maynard?
The chairman or director of football at Lyon, Orlas, I think he's called.
Michael Orlas
is supposed to be Jean-Michel Orlas, something like that.
That's it.
We got there in the end.
From what I've heard, he's the Daniel Levy of that league. He's a really shrewd, tough operator.
They've been at loggerheads a couple of times over.
I just didn't see it happening.
He says Daniel Levy's the hardest negotiator in football he's ever had to deal with. Then just about every other chairman he's dealt with says the same thing anyway. But as we're saying, this time it should be Patrici doing the deal, shouldn't it?
Yeah, not Levy.
Do you guys think there's any midfielders that are going to completely change us? Because obviously now we're getting in the Champions League, we're going to try, put ourselves in the mix for like a top 3 finish again. Are there any players that you think off the bat, we sign this player, we can definitely do something in the Champions League or even in the league?
I can think of 2.
Okay.
Frenkie de Jong.
Okay.
Player that we've not been linked with, but if United are having a sniff, and it is understandable why, if he was to become available, yes.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm going to get lamented for this, but I genuinely think Paul Pogba. If Paul Pogba is available, I know it's trouble. I know you're playing with fire, but he was unbelievable at Juventus. Under Conte.
Do you know what's funny, right, Josh? If you had asked me that question, I would have said that as well. Genuinely, I would have said that based on what his situation is now. Probably he wants to stay in the league, earn similar sort of money, and perform in the Champions League. Yeah, I would say, but then again, I imagine a lot of Spurs fans would say he's similar sort of to Ndombele in the sense that he looks like he's trouble.
Could be
it's a funny one.
It could be.
Sign him on a 2-year deal.
Didn't Paul O'Keefe say that we rejected him anyway?
Oh, did he?
Okay.
I think he would transform our midfield.
Yeah, he would do.
It depends what Pogba you'd get, though. That's the only thing. You get this guy who's like, I only want to play when I want.
Back of Man United, aren't you? The way things are on there, he's going to go to. If he does go to Juventus, which I think he probably will, he's going to be their player of the season next year, guaranteed. Unless Chiesa, comes back all firing. But
he's that good a player. I mean, it's just what version of him are you going to get, and sadly as well, because he's at that age where now he needs his final contract, his final big one. So I'm not sure who's going to be able to offer him that. I don't know. I'd be interested to see how it plays out. He's 29. Yeah, 29. Yeah.
He's on a free. I could see us going for him, but we wouldn't pay a fee for him, would we?
He's on a free, isn't
he? He is on a free, Billy, but his wages are in the region of
300k.
300k upwards, yeah.
You pay him 300k, then you've got to up everyone else's wages. Then that goes into all our transfer budget.
Exactly.
Which then weakens us further in the transfer market. So I'd say no. We've got to look below that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right, Tops. I heard you got to go.
Yeah.
Okay? Just before you go, is there one dream signing you'd really want Spurs to make this summer? Just give me a name and
a dream signing. This is a signing that I've kind of watched for quite a while now, and I kind of feel, even though we've got players in these areas, it would probably change us and push us to the next level and have sufficient quality and depth as well. Christian Nkunku from Leipzig.
Oh God, yeah. I think we were linked with him actually.
Yeah, I think he's absolutely fabulous. He can play anywhere across the front three. He can play as a 10, sometimes even plays as an 8. Extremely hardworking, sets up and scores goals, and he's got Champions League heritage. He's played fairly well last season. I think he's got 10 goals in the Champions League. So, but again, I feel like there's going to be a lot of teams sniffing around for him, especially teams like Liverpool, Chelsea with their attacking situation as well. But that's just kind of a player I think would really, because now the reason I'm looking at like these kind of bigger players is just because I feel like we're a good enough team to be better than, in my opinion, 14, 15 teams in the league. I need us to move the needle now. I need us to start moving in a direction where we are constantly in sort of battles with the Cities, the Liverpools, the Chelseas. I really do believe that where we finish this season, whilst it's been a bit of a funny start and a poor start to the season, we are literally the better. We are literally the third, fourth, fifth best team in the league, and I feel like we need to kind of start to push that gap between those teams because we've got the manager who can literally do that for us at the moment. But again, it's all about where we recruit, how we recruit smartly, and also making the shrewd signings, not just the big ones, but the shrewd ones. You know,
he would be like a statement signing if he made it.
Yeah, it would be. It would be. I mean, I'm kind of the opinion that Tottenham get 2 marquee signings this summer and a couple like shrewd ones. I feel like Bastoni's going to be one of them, and I feel like one of them later on is going to be maybe an attacker of some sort.
One that none of us expect. I do think that. I think that's why they try to do the business so tightly and like need the budget, so they've got money at the end of the window to go out and get one marquee
signing.
Yeah.
Get the Bastoni, get the Perisic, get a couple of like cheap ones, the Ericsson, and fill these little gaps we need. Build up the bench, the squad, and then hopefully at the end see, right, we've got this amount of money left out of this budget. Right, he costs that. We just go and get him.
Yeah.
Then I'd say there's been a change in transfer policy at Tottenham. Full stop.
Yeah.
But we'll see at the end, of the window.
That would have to continue. Yeah, at the end of the window. But considering you ain't waiting for the last 2 signings till the last day.
Yeah, on the deadline day. again.
I could swallow that one. But then they have to do the next window and the next window and the following window, like City and Chelsea do. And Liverpool. They have to identify targets, get them in early, not wait till late and get them stolen off us.
Okay. All right.
Thanks, Harry.
Right.
Good to see you, Billy. Cheers,
Cheers.
Josh. Nice one, fellas. Bye.
Bye.
Okay, so that's just the last 3 left. So now we've got the last bit left, the strikers and the wingers, because, I mean, we don't ever sign a traditional striker, so apparently they're not going for someone like that. So let's go to... So again, this is just players we've been linked with. So is there anyone there that you think that's your guy? Or do you think, like, for example, do you think we're going to go for an actual striker, or do you think we go for like a winger forward?
I'll be honest, there's parts of Richarlison's game I like. I like Gabriel Jesus, but the thing that worries me about Richarlison is he's going to want to come in as a starter.
Yeah.
And he doesn't get in that front 3. And as for Jesus, he's just played back up, hasn't he? Do you think he'd want to move on to a club where he's a first team player?
I think for me, he's the most sensible signing out of the players we've been linked with up front.
I mean,
Jesus for me.
Diablo we ain't getting. Martinez we ain't getting. He's too much.
No, it's just players we've been linked with.
Calvert-Lewin I wouldn't want. I wouldn't want Sterling.
Carrasco?
Don't know nothing about him. I'm not going to lie. Cornet from he's the one at
Burnley.
Yeah. I mean, to me, Bale's
back though.
I'd love Bale back, but
isn't Cornet like I thought he played as like a number 10 sometimes as well.
Yeah, he's one of those players that can play pretty well in any position you put him. He could play as a fullback. He could play as a striker.
Everywhere.
He's one of those, almost like a James Milner. So that might be a decent one, especially with Burnley going down. There's going to be a clause in that contract.
I think he's going for like 10, 15 million. I think.
Yeah, I think that's a good shout. I want to see us go for a more ambitious player. At the end of the day, Liverpool have Roberto Firmino on the bench a lot of the time. So I won't accept the argument or the point of, this player's not going to come here because, with all due respect, Billy, because, they're not going to be starting. Look at Liverpool, Firmino, Jota, Mane's
Diaz.
going, but Diaz, Mane, Salah, all up this season. That's
always Mane's replacement. We just pushed
exactly,
that forward, didn't we? And
exactly.
some Liverpool fan tweeted saying earlier, who had Son and Kane in, who should we buy to replace Mane? And
But they played with
they
5.
had a poll, and there was a poll, and I had to hit the poll to see who it was, and Son was leading the poll.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
Kane was lowest down at 14.
What?
And I'm thinking, I said, you've already replaced him. You're just going to get your money back now, because Liverpool's model is pretty similar to ours, like that, but they're clinical and they're targets they get, and it's part to do when they pay the wages.
I'm gonna be a bit controversial here. I would take Luis Suarez.
Whoa.
Is he on the free or not?
I can't remember. I will
Is he
find
on the
out.
free? Hold on.
It's not a bad shout.
I would take Luis Suarez for a season.
Cavani?
Nah.
I think Suarez is a quicker, more dynamic player. Suits the Spurs style. I think if we're going to go for a bigger centre forward, I'm a massive fan of Victor Osimhen.
I like him a lot. Yeah, I like him
He's
a
going to
lot.
cost £60 million. He's not going to be cheap. He's
Yeah,
very.
I don't think we're going to spend £60 million on a forward.
No, I don't
If
either.
we were, I'd go for Martinez. And I don't with Kane, Son.
I think ultimately we need to be smart here and do what Liverpool did with Diogo Jota.
Yeah.
Jota was a player that people kind of raised their eyebrows. 45 million he's a pretty decent player, but is he that good? And look what's happened when he's gone to Liverpool, and they identified him early. And Firmino barely gets a look in now because of
Jota's so good.
And that's exactly why I make that point of we need a player that is good enough to start for us. We're going to be, if we want to win trophies and we want to win our Carabao Cups and our FA Cups and get to a Champions League final and challenge for the league to the very final day. Liverpool could have easily had a quadruple this season. If it wasn't for us, they would have won the league. And
if it wasn't for a team being able to defend and the goalkeeper being man of the match, they would have won the Champions League.
You know what?
I mean, what a goalkeeper's meant to do.
But Liverpool, whether we like it or not, were fighting on all 4 fronts, and the reason they did that was because of
they did it well. I mean, everyone knows I hate Liverpool.
So do I.
To be honest, I don't hate them. I just more hate their fans. To be honest, I don't actually hate Liverpool as a club. They're not actually that.
They're a well-run club, but I think their fans just really.
That's what I'm saying. Their fans are just.
I think we can be ambitious, and I think we should be looking to get a 20 goal a season.
Who were you thinking of though? Because if you're talking about someone like Jota, you're talking about someone who's at least 20 something that no one's really been thinking of. And suddenly we went, I mean, Osimhen obviously is one I really like too. So
he's going to cost a lot, Osimhen, but he wants to go, it seems. And Tottenham were monitoring him before he went to Napoli. They liked him.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I watched bits of the Under-17 World Cup when Osimhen was playing for Nigeria, and I was in awe of him because of how talented he looked at such a young age. But then I cast my mind back to a guy called Souleymane Koulibaly. Koulibaly, who did the same thing in the Under-17 World Cup, but ended up flopping, went to Peterborough and St Mirren or somewhere like that, and it didn't work. Osimhen has made it work. He's gone to Lille. He won the league at Lille. He went to Napoli. He's been very good there. And I think now would be the right time. And he's young. You've got him for a few years as well, especially with Kane getting slightly older. He's very good in the air. He's absolutely rapid. He loves taking players on. He's a bit of the sort of Lukaku mould, but imagine if, a shredded Lukaku with more pace.
Yeah.
And when you think of what Conte did with Lukaku at Inter, that kind of striker Conte is a big fan of. So I think Osimhen for me. would be the one, or Scamacca as well.
He's another one, but we haven't really been linked with him much coming up to this window at all.
It's kind of happened more recently, I think. The sort of links have been, but again, I mean, the place I always read what's happening, obviously Fabrizio, but I read the Italian outlets, because the Italian outlets are often spot on, and they spot things way earlier than the English media outlets. And there's been a few links there. But again, Scamacca, he's had one good year. So
that's what I'm saying.
We don't know. Osimhen has proved it over a couple of seasons. So that would be, for me, that would be the smart move.
He's also, if we're looking for someone as like an heir for Kane, I think Osimhen is definitely the one to get. If we're looking for someone who can play more with him and sort of as his backup as well, even if it's just like less years, let's say. I mean, Jesus for me is probably the one.
Yeah.
But whether we can get him from City, I doubt it. That's my only,
I feel like he's going to Arsenal.
Yeah, I know. I feel that too, unfortunately.
Out of the two of them, we got more chance to get Richarlison because do
you like him, Billy?
I do actually, yeah, but he's got a temperament. But someone alluded on the fact, I didn't actually think about it last night. We have got Champions League football to offer now, and more rotation. I do see him
as well.
Yeah, I do see him as a bit of a troublesome player, but he's definitely better than some of the backup players we've got.
He'll pick up the Tottenham fans' flair that they throw out on the pitch when we score against Arsenal.
Like Emerson.
He used to love doing it. Richarlison is good. I do like him.
Players in football stadiums. I don't know why the Premier League haven't done it to Emerson.
Yeah, he's got away with it. I don't know.
It's wrong. If that was me, they'd ban me.
I just don't see Richarlison as a Conte player. I don't think he's got the attitude.
I
think he would fit the squad, but I just not.
I think he's the most attainable,
for sure.
I don't think he's the right one for me, at least. I think he's the right one.
I know Bale. They say his temperament ain't good, but I'd love Bale back. You remember, like we've probably got the best front. Statistically, the best front three since Kulusevski come in. In the Premier League era, we had the best front three with Bale and Kane and Son.
Yeah,
them two are awesome. All they need is that one class player alongside them. And I think Bale coming in as backup to Kulusevski, if Conte would work with him, but I've heard numerous times that he doesn't like his attitude. He doesn't like training. But to me,
Bale's very bothered about the World Cup, which Wales might not qualify for. So I think the player you get very much depends on whether Wales qualify. If Wales qualify, and it's going to be Scotland or Ukraine. I do think Wales is the strongest team out of all of those. Then you've got a hungry Bale because he wants to perform to the highest level ahead of that World Cup, because it's going to be the only chance he gets to play at the World Cup.
That's true.
But the other thing is, and again, another reason, I mean, Bale could work for this. Wales are one of those teams that they may end up, getting to the knockout stages of a World Cup and surprising everyone. You would think that Nigeria will probably go out in the group stage. So if we got Osimhen, we've got a fit player that's probably not going to get injured, you would think, or be exhausted, which could be really good, especially after the World Cup. If Harry Kane, we'd all hope and think that England should be looking to win this World Cup. Not that they will, because they bloody well won't. They always find a way to not. But I think England's got a good chance of getting to at least the semi-finals, if not the final of the World Cup. Harry Kane could be burnt out because he's going to start every single game. He's going to play every minute. That's when a player like Osimhen could be really useful, actually. A player. And actually, to be fair, Richarlison too, if he can sort his attitude out, because Richarlison, is he going to go on the plane with Brazil?
Probably not.
Depends if he's in good form, if we did sign him. he's certainly not going to start for Brazil. I wouldn't think. Although he has played quite a lot for Brazil at the same time, so who knows? But I just think that that's where we could afford to be a little bit smart. Is a player that will probably go to the World Cup, but not in a team that's going to do particularly well.
The good thing about Jesus and Richarlison is they are both Premiership proven.
Sure.
Yeah. How about Adama Traore? Do you think he's going to come?
Absolutely.
I don't want him. But...
I wanted him in January because I felt he could have been converted to a right wing back. Conte didn't really want him then, by the sounds of things from what Paul said. I don't see it being a deal happening. And I'm not that bothered about him now. He is a monster at times. I mean, do you remember the Wolves game when we had to take turns in taking a yellow card when he was just bombing down that right-hand side? Every player literally had to take a hit on him.
I remember that.
Hogan scored the last-minute header.
But he's amazing physically, but he can't kick a football.
He's got no product for me.
He can't cross or shoot. So it's like, it's great. Put Usain Bolt at right wing doesn't mean, and actually, to be fair to Usain Bolt, he's probably got a better end product from what I've seen of him playing in those charity games. Actually, I've just thought of another one, Memphis Depay.
Yeah. Is he still
a player we've been linked with, down the years, but with Aubameyang coming in and doing so well, which is all the sweeter because Arsenal let him go on a free. Arsenal completely screwed that up. I would take Depay because he can play as an attacking midfielder. He can play as a striker. He's on the bench at Barcelona at the minute. He can play out wide if you need him to. Technically,
it's not a bad shout. It's not a bad shout.
Might be available slightly cheaper than some of the other targets. Just a thought.
It's not a bad shout, actually. So just to close this off, because we've been going for like almost 2 hours. I don't think you guys realise. But so I just want to get one dream signing out of each of you before we close this off. So Josh, first of all, what's your dream signing for Tottenham this summer?
Anyone that Conte wants in Conte we trust.
Are you not going to give me a name? Okay.
Bastoni. I just want to get it done. I want to get it done. And go on then. I'm going to say Osimhen. I absolutely love him.
Yeah, I love Osimhen. Okay, Billy?
I'm going to be controversial. Bastoni, obviously, from what I hear. But from what I've seen in the Premiership, I like Bissouma so much. I think he would do so much to our midfield.
Yeah,
Premier League proven.
Yeah, it's a good shout. I mean, for me, Osimhen is definitely one I like a lot as well. But if we're talking sensible signings as for a striker position, have Gabriel Jesus is definitely the one I want. But whether we can do that deal, I'm quite skeptical.
Sensible's him and Richarlison, I'd say.
Yeah.
But I don't know this Osimhen who.
Oh, no, he's really good.
I might have a Google of him in a little bit.
like Danny Rose.
Danny Rose.
I think Jacko's done a video on him, and the compilations are mental. They are
so good. He's so good. He's so good.
All
right. So it's been great having you both on. So,
cheers, Az.
Do you want to just plug your Twitter handle or anything like that, or tell us what you do just before you go? So, Josh, because you're new to this.
Josh Hughes TV. I mean, I've not been heavily involved in a lot of Spurs media stuff until recently. I do go on all those spaces as much as possible, and I love doing stuff like this. But I do comment here and there. I work in news and current affairs media rather than sport media, so I don't hear an awful lot. But I do have friends in a few places, so when I do hear anything, I will let you guys know, of course.
And Billy, I mean, you're kind of famous already, but do you want to know?
I'll be honest with you, I just like doing the spaces. I just like try and do what I do. I'm quite happy. I'm a bit of a technophobe, so learning to do this in the spaces has been like a bit of amazement for me. But Yeah, if anyone wants to give me a follow, see my content. I'm a bit of a piss boiler at times, but I ain't change. It's that Billy the Yid 70.
Okay, so just right to finish off, come on, you to Spurs.
You
Come on,
know,
you Spurs.